How's it going, everybody? Jackson Fuller here with the Star News, and this is another episode of Zoom Time. I'm happy to be joined today by South Brunswick Athletic Director Chris Roehner, a Hall of Famer here in North Carolina among the athletic director ranks, and a retiring one as well. Brunswick County Schools announced last week that Chris would be retiring at the end of this academic year. Chris, first off, how are things going with you? How has quarantine and the coronavirus pandemic life been treating you? What have you been doing to kind of stay busy?
Well, working every day from home, and I don't like that at all. As any opportunity that I get, I go down to school and walk around the facilities and just keep an eye on things down there. So, it's not fun working from home, but like I said, I try to get out as often as I can.
Mm-hmm. What, the retirement, how long has that kind of been in the works? When did you kind of know that this was going to be your last year working as the athletic director for South Brunswick?
Well, as you know, we've had a lot of great things done at South Brunswick High School with the field house and the field and the tennis courts and the hitting facility and our wrestling room. And I said that when those projects get completed, I would consider retirement. And, once the school year began and we went through the school year and things were kind of falling into place, and Scott Wainwright does a great job at South helping me and working alongside me and doing the things that I can't do, such as technology. It was one of those things where I felt that the program was in good hands, and it is in good hands, and it was just time for me to step aside and maybe try something new.
Awesome. And I know Justin Garza, who has been the varsity volleyball coach over there for the past 3 years, I believe, and also the middle school South Brunswick athletic director is taking over. What's the one piece of advice or the biggest piece of advice you'll give to Justin or any young athletic director that's first starting in athletic administration?
Beware of the hours. It's it's a job that can really consume you, and you've got to be willing to put in the hours, early mornings, late nights, weekends, holidays. You've got to be ready to get after it and stay on top of things. I think Justin has a great advantage in the fact that he has come in contact with I think every athlete that will go through South Brunswick High School, that has gone through South Brunswick High School and will go through South Brunswick High School for the next 3 years. So I think it's a great hire for South. I think he'll do a great job and continue to work hard and do the things that I would like to see done at South Brunswick High School.
That's an incredible answer, one that I kind of identify with as well. I think anybody that works in sports, especially high school sports, that is a year-round event, has to know there's going to be lots of hours that go into it. Chris, I know you were supposed to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, but I imagine the coronavirus put some halts on that. Did you have some sort of virtual celebration or anything that you were able to be recognized?
No, not yet. Last I heard from the NCADA was they were trying to put something together during the week of the coaches clinic in July in Greensboro, but I haven't heard anything. So it's kind of on hold right now.
Absolutely. A lot is. And, speaking of that, one of the reasons I wanted to have Chris on, for those that are watching, is as a Hall of Famer and someone that's been working with, the local schools here in the NCHSA for so long. I wanted to get kind of his opinion going into the future. The NCHSAA is going to have a press conference later today and on Tuesday. And I know Chris has a phone call, and a lot of the local athletic directors across the state have a phone call with the NCHSAA to discuss the coronavirus, and the governor released some new guidelines. The NFHS has released some new guidelines. Chris, first off, when you talk to the NCHSAA or other athletic directors, what's the biggest question that you have with regards to the future of high school sports resuming? What's maybe a concern or a question that you really want to see answered before we get back to playing sports?
I don't know if there's one particular question that needs to be answered. I do know that administrators across the state, whether it be athletic administrators or high school administrators, or even the High School Athletic Association, right now, I think everybody is very deliberate and very cautious on what they're going to do and what the next step is going to be. The NFHSS has put out their guidelines. They put them out last week. And I sat in on the city-county AD meeting last week, and I think Darren Coe, the county AD from Wake County, I think he said it best that, we have got to look out for the health and well-being of our athletes, our student athletes, and be very cautious and be very deliberate on what our next steps are as we begin to look forward to having athletic events. We all want to get out there as quickly as possible, get out there and get the games going and get back to some type of normalcy. But I don't think that's the case right now. I think we've got to be very deliberate and very cautious on how we begin to go into our next couple phases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was interesting seeing what happened over the past, these weeks are kind of running together. I can't remember if the NFHS released their guidelines last week or 2 weeks ago, but the NFHS releases their guidelines, and then the governor in a press conference says, basically, he said youth and high school sports can resume, and I think that was a sign of victory for a lot of people involved with youth and high school sports. But then he releases his guidelines, and I think if you read those closely, they're very strict, and it's going to be tough for them to resume right away. Are you optimistic, pessimistic that we can have some form of high school sports in the fall, even if it's maybe not having all of them? Or are you, what's kind of your level of optimism for just some sort of competition in the fall? Because it does appear that these organizations they're trying to push us to get us in that direction, whether it is a slow pace or a fast pace to getting back to normal with high school sports.
I really don't see a whole lot going on this fall. With the guidelines that the governor put into place, I think that we as athletic administrators have got to sit down and begin to look at what the cost is going to be to be able to provide to be able to be compliant with the guidelines from the governor. I was at an establishment yesterday, and I was talking to some people that, they've been shut down since the virus started, and they just started to reopen, and the amount of money that they're putting into hand sanitizing stations, signage, making announcements, those types of things, it's going to be expensive. It's going to cost the systems, the school systems and the schools a lot of money to be able to meet the guidelines of our governor. So hopefully a few of our sports, might be able to get some action this fall, but I see it still being a long, drawn out process.
And when you think about the NCHSA's role in all this, and I know we've kind of talked a little bit, not on this Zoom conference, over the phone or via text, I've been impressed with their leadership, especially from Q. As someone who's been around, and this is for a long time, and this is something that, even some people that have been around for longer than you haven't seen something like this. How difficult is it for the NCHSA and athletic directors to go through this process and make these decisions? And how impressed have you been with Q Tucker and the rest of that staff's leadership going through these times? Because from my vantage point, they've made the right decision so far on every decision that they've made.
Oh, they have. Q Tucker's always been very proactive in many of her decisions and policies that she has implemented. I think the state of North Carolina, whether it be the High School Athletic Association, the Athletic Directors Association, or even the Coaches Association, I think all three associations work very well together. I think they take advice from each other. They stay in close communication. And I think with our three associations working so closely together, they make the right decisions, and they are very proactive in what we do. And again, they're looking out for the health and the well-being of our student athletes, and they are making the right decisions. Yes.
Last COVID-19 question for you. Is there any scenario you think where originally when this first hit, the county started making decisions before the NCHSA said, no, we're canceling all sports across our state? Is there any situation where, if things are better in Brunswick and Pender and New Hanover County than they are in Wake and Durham, that there could be sports in some counties and not others? Or do you think this should be a statewide decision that encompasses, all the counties in the states whenever we do get back to resumption?
Well, I think it's got to be a statewide decision. I think there might be some states that might be able to jump further ahead than other states because of the conditions in their state. But I think as far as North Carolina, it's got to be a statewide decision. No coach, no athletic director wants another school or another county to get an advantage by being able to start earlier or do some things earlier. So I think it's got to be a statewide decision. And even within the county, North Brunswick, West Brunswick, South Brunswick, we've all got to be on the same page too. We've got to be able to do the things that we want to do together. I know right now Coach Wainwright is in close communication with North Brunswick and West Brunswick. He wants to put up our family ID page and start registering our athletes for the fall and get that moving. And nobody wants to say, well, South Brunswick's doing it, or North Brunswick's doing it, or West Brunswick's doing it. Why aren't we doing it? So not only within the county, but within the state, everybody's got to be on the same page.
Interesting. So yeah, I think that makes sense. The state will make the general huge decision, but then the counties have to all work together to make sure they're all on the same page. And there can't be any differences in how schools within a certain county are operating. Interesting. Chris, when you look back on your time at South Brunswick, and I know especially recently, like you've said, there's been a lot of good things going on within the athletic program there, like the wrestling room, the football fields, the football facility in general. What's the one thing, the one improvement, or the one thing under your watch that you're the most proud
of? I've got to go back to the help of Scott Wainwright. I think technologically, the things that we have done at South with family ID and getting all that paperwork that's required by the High School Athletic Association, get that online where the parents can go on and sign off and check off. That's one thing that I tip my hat to. Scott's been a great help, and the facilities are great. Brunswick County does an outstanding job funding the athletic programs at all the high schools and the middle schools in the county. And I can't say enough about what they've done at South, but the technological improvements we made at South with Scott Wainwright's help, I think, has been very instrumental in the development of our athletic program.
Awesome. All right, Chris, last question for you. I like to leave all my guests with a fun, hopefully, question for you. If you could snap your fingers and have one sport back on TV in your life, let's exclude high school sports, but whether it's, March Madness, that is a long time ago, but we missed, the NBA playoffs, golf majors, what's the one sport you'd like to snap your fingers and be able to sit down on a Saturday afternoon and watch on TV?
Baseball.
Opening day. Who's your baseball team?
I like to see baseball get going again.
Are you a Braves fan?
No, I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan.
Oh, nice. Excellent. I know that's got to be kind of frustrating to be a fan of here.
Oh, it is.
They're blacked out on it's the Wilmington market for baseball is terrible. Every feels like every big game is blacked out, but that's awesome. Yeah.
Last week, May 18th was Brooks Robinson's birthday, and I grew up a Baltimore Oriole fan and a great Brooks Robinson fan, and it was fun watching the 1970 World Series when they beat the Cincinnati Reds, and the 1966 World Series when they beat the Dodgers. So I've had some baseball. In fact, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and of course in 71 and 79 the Pirates beat the Orioles in the World Series, and my roommate called me the one night just to rub it in that in 1979 the Pirates beat the Orioles. So I've been able to watch some baseball and get kind of caught up on the Orioles.
Awesome. That's awesome. I've been to an Orioles game, not at the old Camden Yards, but at the new one, and it is an absolutely beautiful stadium. So I think the Orioles are like one of those teams that I don't have any hard feelings towards either way. I don't love them, I don't hate them, but it was an absolute pleasure to go to their stadium and watch a game there. So awesome, Chris. Well, I appreciate the time so much. Good luck with your last month or 2 months. When do you officially retire? What's the date?
July 1st.
July 1st. Okay. Good luck with the last month. I know you'll be doing your best to get South Brunswick prepared for their future with the Cougars' future without you. So thank you so much for joining me today, and stay safe, healthy, and hopefully we are talking again soon about high school sports happening in North Carolina.
Thank you, Jackson.
Have a good one.